Inauguration Day 2025 was anything but ordinary. The world watched as history was made in ways no one expected. Trump's second term started with shocking decisions, leaving everyone asking, what's next? From climate reversals to border battles, the day set the stage for major changes. But behind the pomp, what were the real consequences of his bold moves? Let's dive into the surprises you missed. The coldest inauguration. The 20th of January 2025 was a unique inauguration day. The streets of Washington, D.C. were supposed to be filled with cheering people, flags, and a well-known outdoor parade symbolizing the peaceful transfer of power. This time, nature had other plans. As temperatures fell to the low 30s and snow started to fall, Donald Trump's inauguration became an important event in history, but for bad reasons. The choice to hold the swearing-in event inside was made at the last moment. It was a big change, not seen since Ronald Reagan was sworn in for his second term in 1985 when the weather was just above freezing. In Reagan's case, the event took place outside, but there were extra measures to keep guests warm from the cold. But in 2025, things had changed. The freezing temperatures were too severe for anyone to stay outside, and safety was the main priority. As a result, the long-standing outdoor event was moved indoors to the U.S. Capitol Rotunda, which is a famous but smaller setting. This was not just a practical choice, it influenced how the rest of the day went. Moving inside instead of staying outside as before meant more than just reacting to the weather. It was a clear example of how uncertain Trump's second term was. During his first term, Trump surprised many, and his second term was looking like it would be the same. From policy shifts to cultural upheavals, the decision to move the inauguration inside was an early sign that the days ahead would be marked by bold moves, unexpected decisions, and constant breaks from tradition. This sudden change also had symbolic weight. Inaugurations show the transfer of power clearly and openly, with the public watching to ensure the change happens peacefully. Having the event indoors seemed like a way to protect the ceremony from the harsh political divides and a country that felt more split than ever. It showed how firmly Trump controlled the situation and that nothing, not even nature, could stop his plans for America. The Capitol Rotunda is impressive and formal, but it felt less open than the National Mall usually does, making the day feel more private and focused. This choice started the events that would happen next. Bringing the event inside changed how the ceremony was organized and highlighted a bigger story about Trump's leadership. The whole day would focus on surprising people, going against the usual way of doing things, and finding a new way forward, no matter the effort needed. As the day went on, it became obvious that this was only the start of unusual and surprising events, making the 2025 inauguration one of the most memorable in U.S. history. This cold indoor celebration wasn't just about dealing with the weather. It was a sign that, just like the cold weather that changed their plans, the next 4 years would bring difficult challenges for America to face. The surprise decision to go indoors was just the beginning of a bigger political issue. Trump's second term began with historic decisions, from breaking tradition to cultural shocks. What really happened behind the scenes? The ceremony like no other. Donald Trump's inauguration on January 20th, 2025, was very memorable. The event was held in the U.S. Capitol Rotunda instead of outside because it was very cold. It wasn't just the weather that made this inauguration different. Trump intentionally made choices and took steps to send a strong message right from the beginning. The oath of office was the first thing that got the nation's attention. As Trump got ready to take the oath for his second term, he surprised everyone by not placing his hand on the Bible. This choice quickly got people's attention. The Bible is used in every presidential swearing-in, showing a serious promise to the country's ideals. By skipping this tradition, Trump made a strong message. It wasn't just a move. It showed his plan for his second term, different, unusual, and completely his own. People noticed the decision and began to question whether Trump was stepping away from traditional presidential behavior or if he was just trying to show his disregard for tradition again. Once Trump took the oath, it was time for his inaugural address. He promised a golden age for America, which resonated with his fans but made some others feel uncomfortable. His speech combined hopeful ideas and strong criticism of his opponents, shaping the direction for the next 4 years. The message of togetherness was mixed with sharp political attacks, which is notable given the strong divides in the country. Trump's words aimed to unite the country, but also to show his strong control and advance his ideas. He wanted to be seen as a leader who stands firm. The message was simple. In his second term, he would keep fighting for what he thought was best for America, no matter who opposed him. But perhaps one of the most shocking moments came in the cultural performances. The inauguration was more than just a political event. It highlighted the culture that Trump wanted to promote in his second term. While popular artists like Carrie Underwood sang on stage, the biggest surprise was when the Village People, famous for their song YMCA, took the stage. Choosing this band was important because the Village People's music is linked to LGBTQ+ culture and celebrations. Their performance at a conservative event like Trump's inauguration was an unusual and somewhat controversial choice. Was this a purposeful gesture towards Trump's supporters? Maybe. Was it a deliberate choice to show acceptance, even if it didn't match his administration's stance on LGBTQ+ rights? The performance made many people wonder what this choice really meant. Trump's second term was expected to be just as uncertain as before, and this unexpected situation showed how complicated his views on politics and culture could be. Trump used a popular American pop culture symbol to appeal to his conservative fans. This shows that his second term will involve contradictions, bold actions, and a continued effort to keep his supporters excited and loyal. Trump's bold moves on day one. Right from the beginning of his second term, Donald Trump quickly started making big policy changes by signing many executive orders that significantly impacted politics. His first day in office was marked by bold actions that would impact the entire country and even beyond. These changes, especially in the environment, immigration, and the economy, made many people think that this term would be another controversial one. One of Trump's biggest actions on Inauguration Day was to take the United States out of the Paris Climate Agreement again. This move surprised many people around the world involved in diplomacy. The move wasn't surprising since Trump had opposed the deal during his first term, but the timing was very dramatic. The U.S. is now officially backing out of a major global effort to fight climate change, which is making the country feel more separated from the rest of the world. The instant effects on the world were obvious. Countries that are facing climate-related tragedies feel let down by the U.S. The UN and environmental groups worldwide criticized the move, viewing it as a failure to support global unity. Trump's backers viewed it as a win, saying it was an important move to make America energy independent and to shield American workers from what they described as harmful regulations that killed jobs. No matter how you look at it, this choice supported Trump's America First message. It showed that in his second term, he would prioritize national interests over foreign agreements like those related to climate change. Trump also started to roll back other programs, not just those related to the environment. His administration's strict approach to immigration changed suddenly. On day one, he signed an executive order to end birthright citizenship. This was a big change in U.S. immigration policy and prepared the way for a stricter approach to immigration in the future. The 14th Amendment has protected birthright citizenship. If it is removed, children born in the U.S. to non-citizen parents would not immediately be U.S. citizens anymore. This decision had quick effects, as millions of children across the country suddenly faced uncertainty about their legal standing. Families, especially those from Latino and Asian backgrounds, prepared for possible changes. There were likely to be court fights over this move, and it was clear that it would lead to many protests, lawsuits, and anger. Trump continued on from that point. He declared a national emergency at the southern border, which let him go around Congress and use extra money for his border wall project. The statement strongly influenced future immigration rules. This clearly showed that his government would take stronger actions to stop illegal immigration, like building walls and increasing enforcement. This decision was very controversial because critics believed the president was abusing their power and using the national emergency label for political advantage. The statement increased the fight over immigration in Congress, making the divide between Republicans and Democrats even bigger. The quick result was a rise in political and public resistance, with pro-immigration activists promising to fight against every part of the border wall growth. Trump's fans saw the emergency declaration as a promised goal from his campaign, while his opponents considered it a threat to American values and human rights. One of the most debated actions Trump took on his first day was stopping the admission of refugees. This executive order stopped the transfer of refugees, especially those escaping war-ravaged areas like Afghanistan. Many people viewed the policy as cruel, especially after the chaotic U.S. exit from Afghanistan in 2021, which left thousands of Afghan refugees stuck. For those affected, people looking for safety in the U.S., the ban caused worry and confusion. Protests broke out in major towns, with supporters urging the government to change the policy and give refugees a way to seek asylum. The response was quick and strong, as critics said that the U.S. was ignoring those who needed help the most. In addition to the immigration orders, Trump introduced new taxes and trade rules aimed at nearby countries like Canada and Mexico. These actions quickly affected the business. The tariffs were meant to protect American companies and workers from unfair competition, but they could also lead to trade wars that might hurt both consumers and businesses. Markets responded with confusion. Economists cautioned that tariffs might raise prices for goods, worsen relationships with important partners, and negatively affect global trade. Trump's supporters praised his actions as strong for American interests, but others viewed them as careless and short-sighted. They believed these actions hurt important trade and economic relationships with neighboring countries. One of the most surprising things Trump did on his first day wasn't about politics or foreign affairs. It was his choice to grant pardons to more than 1,500 people connected to the January 6th Capitol riot. This controversial decision involved granting pardons to people who committed violent acts, such as attacking police officers during the uprising. It was an unusual action that brought up important ethical and legal issues. The pardons drew quick criticism from people on both sides of politics. Critics saw it as a way to ignore the impact of an event that had put American democracy in danger. They viewed it as a clear disrespect for justice, especially for the police officers who were struck that day. Trump's followers saw the pardons as a way to fix what they thought was unfair treatment, giving the people involved another opportunity after they believed they were wrongly prosecuted for political reasons. The 2025 inauguration wasn't just historic. It was a whirlwind of bold moves that shocked both supporters and critics alike. The public's reaction to Trump's inauguration. During the inauguration, the general reaction was very divided. The atmosphere was full of strong feelings, from joyous celebration to angry protest. Donald Trump's second term started with a clear split, both among people in the streets and online. Hundreds of Trump fans came together in Washington, D.C. to celebrate the start of his second term. Some shouted calls of 4 more years, while others quietly celebrated, waving flags and signs. The scene was filled with excitement and eager expectation. For Trump's most dedicated supporters, this was a win not only for their president but also for their sense of political identity. They weren't just supporting one person, they were supporting a cause that had changed politics a lot in the last 4 years. Not everyone was happy about this. There were loud and strong protests all over the city. People went out to protest against Trump's policies, his statements, and what they believed was a danger to the country's ideals. The protests were strong and continuous, with many believing that Trump's re-election was a setback for progress and civil rights. The streets turned into a fighting ground for different beliefs, with voices calling for democracy and justice sounding just as loud as those supporting the president. The protests weren't only about the inauguration, they were also about the future of the country, as people and groups showed their opposition to the new government. As things happened, social media reacted instantly. On sites like X, jokes, compliments, and criticism became very popular online. Trump's fans filled their social media with joyful posts, using hashtags like #Trump2025 and #MAGA. These posts were full of pride as users celebrated the beginning of what they thought would be a strong, confident leadership term. They viewed the opening as a success, something to cheer about. Not everyone was happy. Trump's opponents expressed a lot of anger and disappointment. Many posts criticizing his executive orders, his failure to follow tradition, and the policies he signed in his first hours went viral on the site. Some posts made fun of his decisions with memes, while others strongly urged people to take action against his government. A popular tweet said, "The country is divided, and it begins here." This post clearly explained the emotional divide. Trump's second term was not just about him, but about the deep splits his presidency created. How Trump's inauguration shook the world. Trump's actions on Inauguration Day sent ripples across the world, causing major shifts in how foreign leaders and governments viewed the United States. International reactions were quick and strong, especially regarding the U.S. choice to leave the Paris Climate Agreement again and the strict immigration policies. Global leaders who had built strong ties with the U.S. under past administrations now had to rethink their plans. Many people viewed the U.S. pulling out of climate talks and its controversial immigration policies as bad for diplomacy, which made it seem more isolated internationally. Allies in Europe, Latin America, and Asia felt unsure about how to work with a U.S. government that appeared more interested in its own needs than in working with others. Trump's second inauguration set a cultural tone that made people think about what it means to be American and where the country is headed. His strong views on immigration and the way he spoke suggested a move away from the principles of diversity and equality that the U.S. has valued for many years. The dangers to human rights were obvious right away. Activists and civil rights groups are saying that if Trump gets a second term, it could hurt the rights of marginalized communities even more. His opening revealed a country divided, with immigrants, refugees, and people of color worried about the future. These changes in culture and diplomacy also brought important law and constitutional fights that would shape the future. The stopping of refugee migration and the ending of birthright citizenship were already being questioned in the courts. Legal experts expect long and intense court fights over these policies, which could either confirm or reverse Trump's major changes. As these cases went through the legal system, the effects of Trump's acts became clear, showing how impactful his second term could be. The 2025 inauguration set off international tensions. Trump's controversial policies sparked uncertainty and redefined global relationships with the U.S., what Trump's first day really meant for America's future. People reacted quickly and strongly to Trump's first day in office. In Congress, the split between Republicans and Democrats became clearer. Nancy Pelosi, the Speaker of the House, criticized Trump's executive actions, especially his changes to immigration and climate policies. She said these actions pose a danger to American ideals and democracy. Mitch McConnell, the Senate Minority Leader, praised Trump's strong actions, calling them a necessary change from the previous government's policies. Their different reactions made it clear that coming together was unlikely. Instead, Trump's first day deepened the political split, with both sides digging in their heels. The media's views on the opening were very divided. Most major news outlets, which tend to be liberal, focused on analyzing the risks associated with Trump's choices throughout the day. They pointed out the strong reactions against his executive orders, particularly about climate change and immigration, and cautioned that there would be court disputes afterward. They saw it as an extension of a president who, in their opinion, ignored rules for his own benefit. At the same time, Independent and right news sources described Trump's actions as a strong push against globalism, seeing it as a win for Americans who felt neglected by past governments. For them, it was a new time that did not accept compromise and strongly supported independence. Responses from other countries came in quickly. China, concerned about the U.S. leaving climate deals and imposing trade limits, started changing its approach. The European Union is worried about Trump's views on climate change and foreign partnerships, which could harm relations between the U.S. and Europe. In Mexico, the new attention on immigration and the border wall has caused anger and concern about the future of U.S.-Mexico ties. Trump's quick international actions showed that his policies made other countries change how they interacted with America, often leading to tension instead of teamwork. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this deep look, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more. And be sure to click on the next video popping up on your screen for more insights.